Welcome to Did She Really Say That? The podcast hosted by Truth Bomb Marketing. Hi, my name is Chef Katrina.
And I'm Heidi Muma.
And of course, we're going to screw up this podcast right out of the gate for today. So our conversation today is really about community and girlfriends and how important they are as female entrepreneurs and just as women in general.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do you get together with girlfriends and the conversation leads places that you never thought it was going to lead?
All the time. Well, and I think this is a conversation. We started this conversation a few years ago, actually, when we became friends. Mm-hmm. And we started talking about, like, the need for girlfriends. And as we get older and we start moving around the country, like I know right now there's this mass migration as we're moving all over the United States where we live. And there's just this having to reestablish or reset a social circle. And a lot of women that we've been talking with recently really talk about the importance of connecting to their community, meeting other women, and just spending that time just talking without really any like definitive outcome around it.
Right. I know it was fascinating. So we went to an event last night it was like a new group that we were meeting, and the conversations were fascinating. It was like and especially because I think it was like as you get older, it's like, it's like I think when I was younger and having kids, it's so easy to meet people via your kids' activities. You go and it's like you get kids together and it's super easy to make friends around this commonality of your kids and your kids' ages. But then when you are getting older and you're not as involved, like your kids actually have their own lives. Imagine that. That doesn't necessarily include you. And it's like, and how do you make friends? I talked to some women last night where it's like, her husband just on a whim decided we're going to move to a town that was like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes away from where they were living. And to him, it's no big deal. He's totally fine. And she's like, but I didn't realize I left all my friends. And it's like, they're not next door. They're not in the neighborhood. They're a drive to get to. And it's not. And so it's like, how do you establish a new friend? She's like, for him, it's no big deal. He just goes, he meets this friend here and it's like, and he just moves on. But for girls, we really keep our friends.
Yeah.
We like our friends. We don't just discard our friends because we move away. But at the same time, how do you create a new friend group where you are? And it's just, and it's like, and I was like, and it was like another mom was just like, well, it's like, if my kids move away, I'm just following them, and they know this, I'm following them. But it's like, and it's one thing to follow your kids because you want to be near your kids or your grandchildren, but you still need that social circle. You still need your own friends. Where do you meet them? How do you meet them? And it's like...
No, and it's a good point, too, because I think one of the things that typically is what we do as female entrepreneurs is we start going to networking events with the intention of talking about our business, what we do. And, last night's event kind of pointed out an obvious thing for me. It's like, sometimes it's just nice just to meet other women and just get to know, like, not just what they do for business, but about them and their lives, their spouses, their children, and really build another layer of connection with these women beyond just the business sense. I think a lot of the business networking events that are available to women, especially female entrepreneurs, are so business focused.
Yeah.
That this is why I think it's always interesting when they say, well, if you're going to go to these networking events, then go set up a coffee date.
Right.
Right. And I know we were talking with a friend of ours that we just met the other day, and coffee dates online are great. They're simple. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to dress up. You can kind of just meet online. But I really do feel like women need that connection to humanity. And there's such a different energy and conversation and flow that happens when you're sitting across from somebody.
And you can see because you can see facial expressions on Zoom, but it's different when it's in person.
Yeah.
Because it's not just your face. It's also, it's your body language. And it's the connection that's in person. It's like, I know it's like, I'm not going to get into talking about the pandemic, but the pandemic really robbed us of that. And it's like, and it made everybody, it's like, oh, it's so much easier just to do it from home. It may be easier, but is it as effective? And is it really creating a relationship with somebody?
Yeah, I think it's super important as female entrepreneurs, as we start building our businesses and as we start looking at how we're constructing our businesses, is getting out there and just being with other women in different areas, not just in the business education world, but just in social interactions. That is such a critical piece, because I think we get so bogged down in the masculine and the way of thinking about business is that it's all transactional.
Yeah.
So a lot of the networking background and a lot of the systems that have been set up for how networking events should run, a lot of it is set up on how men come to events, right? And they're just very direct. A lot of the times it's like, hey, I'm here for business. They meet and they're just straightforward, which I think is a beautiful thing, at the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. And yet as women, we are multi-layered. We're very complex. And having that social interaction with other women and being able to talk openly about what we're dealing with is so important, because I feel like sometimes, and we were talking about this with one of the girls we were meeting yesterday, we talked about how we met, right? And kind of sharing some of the insight. And I said, there was, for me, we almost didn't become friends.
Yeah. Because
I had a belief system around talking about something that was personally happening in my life. And that in that conversation, you would have thought less of me, didn't want to be friends with me, things like that. And it's all my belief system over here.
Right.
Right. But once we talked about it and had an open conversation around what was actually going on in my life, in your life, and just what we wanted to do, it established the foundation of a friendship.
Yeah.
Right?
It absolutely did. So it's one thing, it's to meet somebody online, you see a persona.
Yep.
And even if you're doing it on Zoom, it's so easy to maintain that persona.
Yeah.
And it's but then when you actually meet, get together face to face, it's like you see a completely different side of somebody. Yeah. You actually, it's easier to portray emotion. It's easier, compassion. It's easier. It's there's so many things that come out in a conversation when you're in person that does not come across over the Zoom or over a phone or something. It's when you're missing that whole body language aspect of the conversation, there's a lot that you're missing.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, when you talk about meeting someone on Zoom, you control your environment of how you present yourself. Mm-hmm. So
the fake backgrounds.
The fake backgrounds. So we have our fake backgrounds, right? Our hair looks a certain way. Maybe we only look good from the top up.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe we are wearing the sweatpants, but we never get to see that side of the personality.
Right.
Because there's this, we're meeting for business or we're meeting for this coffee date, instead of just having this, let's get together and spend some time with each other and just create friendship. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think a lot of the times, I'm looking at this younger generation of kids, because I do teach, high schoolers right now.
Right.
And one of the fun things with watching them is their word around girlfriends. You don't see a lot of people putting in the time and effort to create that girlfriends. Who are you hanging out with? Who are you connecting with? What are you giggling about, kind of a thing? Because I do think that's an important construct for women, is that we have girlfriends to lean on, and not sometimes always just the the physical, emotional girlfriend, I'm dating this person because I'm in love with them. I think for me, I had a hard time with the word as I grew older of having a girlfriend. A girlfriend felt like something I should have when I was a teenager or in my 20s.
Right.
Right. I had girlfriends, but as I got older, how it felt like as the world evolved for me, girlfriend then became something that was more of an intimate relationship. Mm-hmm. And I had a hard time wrapping my brain around that, because so much of social media and what I was watching in television on the news was all transitioning into, same-sex relationships. Right. So now there was this fear of going out and meeting other women and just building a friendship. Yeah. Because there was this almost underlying conversation that if I have a girlfriend, that she must be somebody I'm intimate with. And I was like, no, I just want to have girlfriends.
Right? They've distorted the word. Because it's we were teenagers, we had all our girlfriends. Yeah. And and there's nothing around it. Nothing. And there still doesn't have to be, there's nothing around it. Right. It's just, so I think they've distorted that word. So it's hindered our building of friendships.
Yeah.
And it's just so that's really sad, but but we also talk, it's like, we talk about dating, and we talk about, like, so, and it's like, and so we are both single, and it's like, and so we've looked at the
heterosexual. I'm after guys, totally.
Yes,
Sorry.
totally into guys, totally into guys. But we've looked at, like, the dating apps, and what is and the fakeness, or I guess it's like what has the impact social media has had on how people are using these dating apps.
Oh yeah, and it's so interesting to watch because back when in the, I guess, the early 20s when dating apps first came out, I remember being on a couple of them and met some really great people.
Yeah.
And it was more authentic. It was less, it was more about building connections and relationships. It was actually wanting to get to know people, to date people, to fall in love and have that connection. When we went back online and I went back into the dating world again, back through the app, what I recognized, and I was talking to a lot of guys about this too that I was meeting, and they're like, yeah, women collect it like it's a like. Like, they're just looking for that acknowledgement that they're beautiful and that they're having something. So they don't want the relationship. They want the attention of getting the like. So dating apps became just another form of social media. It just became another way to get more likes.
Look how many people swiped on me.
Yeah, I got so many swipes. All these guys love me, and it just became this another layer of superficial connections.
Cortisol hit,
right? Like, I just need that hit that says I'm beautiful and that I'm attractive, and do I need to meet these people? No. And so there's becoming this world of, like, dating and relationships, and I think this all ties in because we are definitely seeing less people connect in relationships. And a lot of the times I think we just have this massive stigma around the types of friends we should have. They have to like this. They can't have a different opinion than me. They can't have a different point of view. But that's what makes friendship and relationships so interesting.
Yeah, because if you agree on everything,
you might as well be brother and sister.
Yeah, which is funny because it's like we did read an article one time, or I saw something about how it's like the dating apps, it's like more often than not, you're meeting somebody who could be your brother or your best friend or somebody, but it's not somebody that you are going to have that deep relationship with where you actually challenge each other to grow better, to grow more. Because it's like, if you agree on everything, you're not challenging each other's beliefs to actually know what you believe, why you believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that adds another dynamic to a relationship, that it's like, because you don't have to be in a really loving, sustainable relationship doesn't have to mean you agree on everything.
Yeah.
But now if you don't agree with me, you're against me.
Yes. And that's really what they say. It's like, you're against me. It's like, no, we can still have different opinions and still be friends. Like, and that was one of the things that started to come up around social media. It's like, we can only be friends if we agree. And so, like, the whole unfriending people, right? I mean, we see this happen during the political arena. We saw this happen during the pandemic. We saw this happen a lot recently over the last, 5 years. There was so much unfriending because we had different viewpoints. But those viewpoints are what make friendship fun. Right? Because then we learn to talk to each other. And then where are we in the world if we don't start talking to each other and communicating and getting different people's point of view?
Right. And a discussion usually involves two different viewpoints. Because you have a discussion. If you both agree on everything 100%, there's not a whole lot to discuss.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's actually having that just a different viewpoint on something. It's like, it opens your mind to different possibilities.
Yeah.
It opens your mind to different way of being.
Yep.
And that's like, that helps you to grow as a human being. That is like, and when if you're not growing, if you're not willing to look at something in a different way, you might as well just lay down on the couch and go to sleep.
Yeah. Which is where a lot of us fall. But like, getting back into the connections for women, I think, for me, it's been super important to get out and get social. And sometimes it's hard because we're so, especially for me, I've been so online teaching and training.
Yeah.
That there is a piece of me that just craves, can I just go meet people in person? Like, can I just host like live events and actually engage with people again? Because as awesome as the internet is, it's also, like you said, it's such a hindrance. But I met you through the internet.
I know.
Right?
Shocking.
I
know.
I've met a lot.
We actually met a real person.
Yep.
who has a wonderful life, and it's like, and we're still able to connect. But our friendship didn't really blossom until we met in person.
Yep.
And it's just, and it does take the extra effort.
Yep.
It does. And I think that's where a lot of people are like, oh, it's just easier to do it this way. Yeah, maybe easier, but it's not better. And it's just like, but it does take that extra effort of where do you find people? Where do you find these groups? Because it's like, we had a lunch date with a wonderful lady the other day, and it's like, and she talked about she's been to find in a networking group, find in a group, and she's been struggling because so much of it is, it's like, it's, if you didn't, like, there's the good old boys club type thing where it's like, if you didn't grow up in the area, if you're not ingrained, if you're not a local, that it's hard to be accepted into the local group.
Yeah.
Because they have their niche, they have their friendship group. And are they open to bring in more people into that group, or are they just, this is my group and I don't want anybody else to come.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you do move to a new area, it's hard to break into a friend group or something like that. So it's almost like you have to go find all the other people who are transits. So it's like I love, and it's like, and so it's like we had found a group last night that it was actually like that. It was super fun. It was like it was actually a lot of transients, but it wasn't all transients. There was a lot of locals too. But it's like so it's like, if you have a group, are you open to other people joining? Are you open to meeting new people and be like, because it's like when you meet new people who didn't grow up in that area, it's like you actually invite another culture into your group. It might be a microculture. It might still be Americans if you're here in America, but it's like, but because they didn't grow up in your little local community, they're gonna have different ideas and different way of doing things. And you know what? It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I find working and networking with women, especially when we talk about finding those groups, building those social groups. I look at my parents, they're in their 70s. They've moved into a new area. They had their social group. Pandemic hit. Came out of that, they weren't as engaged, but you can see the impact it has on their health too, by not having a social circle to tie into, right? We become then so isolated and thinking to ourselves, and especially as a female entrepreneur, and if you're single, or if you have kids, or if you're married, or whatever it is, a lot of times being that entrepreneur, being that businesswoman, it can feel very isolating.
Yeah.
Because you have so much that your expectations on yourself, and you don't have like a team to lean on. And we were talking about this earlier before we jumped on the podcast, how critical it is just to have girlfriends outside your business world.
Yep.
That you can just hang with, right? So that aren't necessarily in it, or that just support you in business, but aren't in your business with you. Like, they don't have to be a client and everything else. Like, what does that look like to have a bigger network? And I think there was a meme that I read the other day about like the alpha female. And I was a little pissed reading it, to be honest. And the reason I was upset is because it says, an alpha female is alone. She works in silence. She has her head down and she makes an impact, right? But if you look at the characteristic of the alpha female, they're mirroring the alpha male.
Yeah.
The alpha male has their head down. They work in silence and they let their work speak loudly for them. Right. But if you look at what an alpha female actually is, she's the nurturer and the community builder. Yeah. Like for us, the girl that hosted the event last night, I consider her alpha female.
Definitely.
Right.
She was incredible.
Yeah, she's super connector. She just wants to connect everybody together. She was so fun to watch because she would move women around saying, have you met this person? Have you met this person? She spent time with them. But for me, that's the alpha female. She's super connected. Mm-hmm. She is about taking care of community first and foremost. Yep. And she looks to always be expanding her circle, not closing her circle. Yeah. And when I think about, and so I rewrote the meme. I took it and I said, okay, no, an alpha female is about community. She's about expanding her circle. She's meeting more people to see who she can help more. Because a lot of the women that I meet, when they talk about impact, it's not just impact on them and their family. It's like impact worldwide.
Right.
And to make that kind of impact, you need those relationships. You need to be connecting with more diversity and more women and more men and more different thinking individuals, because everyone holds a key that can help you move a business forward, connect you with somebody. And it's those connections that we know in the business world that are way more valuable than just the customer and the sale.
Right.
Right. Because she talked about, she's like, the word of mouth is so fantastic for how she's been building her group and her events. But that's what you want. The word of mouth is way more powerful than just posting on the internet or just doing some SEO or just doing this whole bunch of content. It's getting to know people, providing and being a resource for them, and then bringing that into the world. So for me, when I think of an alpha female, I don't think of an alpha female as silent, as closed off, as no tribe. I look at it as an alpha female as one that's blossoming, that's bringing the balance, that's connected to her community. That to me is more alpha as a female than the alpha male. And it's always bothered me that they've mirrored alpha female and alpha male to be alpha female is an alpha male. She's the bitch. She's the go-getter. I'm like, no, that is a woman being an alpha male.
Right. Mimicking the male, the model that we've been given.
Yeah, you're basically, if you come across someone that's very much like in her masculine energy, then she's just a mimic, or she's just a mirror of the alpha male.
Yep.
But she's not an alpha female. For me, there's a big distinct difference, and I think we've gotten confused. Again, we talk about like blurring the words, the language. Girlfriends, alpha females, we've given it such masculine meanings in a lot of how we've perceived it, instead of making it that more collaborative, that more huggy, that more engaging type of thing that women really do excel at. We are the collaborators, we are the nurturers, and that needs to be celebrated for what we're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, she was beautiful to watch because you're like, she was a connector. And it's just like, and I think it's like, even in the business world, it's like, if you're connecting people together, it's like that grows your business, and it gives people something to talk about.
Yep.
And it's like those connections that you make with other women, with other people in general, it's like the more that they feel connected with you, the more that they actually see how authentic and real you are, the more they're going to talk about you to when they run it, they have somebody that's like, oh my gosh, this is what you need.
Yep.
And it's like that word of mouth is fantastic. It's like, I mean, it's a group of just women who want to get together, but they also do have the business networking, because that's how, I mean, it's like for women in business, it's like, that's how we grow. And it's like those connections that we make, those real connections that we make.
Yeah. There is something to, I think, the grassroots community building for women. That I've seen extraordinary women, and I keep seeing them over and over again. And as much as we love the internet for that expansion and that broadening of it, what's been really fascinating is getting back into those local communities. Because when you talk to women, building that local support around their community, whether we went to the event for last night, whether we go to our other networking group with women, you listen to them, and they're really about being in their community. What's important to their community?
Right.
What are the people that they know dealing with, and how can they provide support, goodwill, charity, functions? Like, it really is at the heart of what women do.
Right.
And that is such a critical element when you talk about, all right, I'm a female in business. I want to grow my business. You can't sit at home 24/7 working on your business. You cannot. And we've seen this with a lot of our members that are going through Truth Bomb Academy. Their experience of building their business has been sitting in front of their computer for 5, 6, 7 hours doing a list of to-do things that they think is going to move their business forward.
Yeah.
And even if you're an introvert and you're saying, oh, I'm an introvert, I need to stay. You know what? I don't believe introvert, extrovert. I get the personality piece. I get that's part of this.
Yeah.
But we are all been taught, and we know this scientifically, that if we don't have human connection, we are failing to thrive.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think for introverts too, it's not that they need we're both pretty much extroverts, and we love the type of crowd, the type of environment last night was, for me, it was life-giving.
Yep.
And it was like, but I also know for introverts, it's like, you still need that connection. You might not be super comfortable in a group of 50 people. You might be more comfortable in a group of 2 to 4, but you still need it.
Yeah.
And it's like even that small group, even like when you have those intimate, because I have very introverted friends, but my connection with them actually goes deeper than sometimes with a lot of extroverts.
Yep.
And it's like, and I love my introverted friends. The
bring
words,
to the table?
What they bring to the table, yeah, I'm stumbling over words here.
Yeah, what they bring to the table is a depth.
It's a depth that you don't necessarily always get in the groups of 50. Because last night, it's like we were floating around and we were meeting pretty much everybody there, which was fantastic. I loved it. I did get time with each of them, so we got to know each other besides just surface level. But for introverts, it's like you might not float around and meet all 50 people.
Yeah.
But the people that you do meet, you make that connection with, that is fantastic and beautiful to watch.
Yeah, one of the ladies that I met towards the end, she's like, I'm a total introvert. She's like, I will go home after this. She's like, I need this though. I need the stimulation mentally, the challenge, the different conversations, because she's like, I do work from home. I'm really good at my one job, but getting that external stimulation of different conversations, different point of views is so critical, because I'm in my own world and I'm in my own space, and just stepping outside of that gives me the ability to just meet other people. Mm-hmm. But she's like, I'm going to go home and I need the downtime, the quiet time to recharge. Right. But that's the beauty of understanding yourself as a woman and knowing your cycle. And I think when we were talking with a lot of these women, I was very fascinated on like what they're doing. And I was, we talked a lot about like syncing into your cycle, because everyone asked me what I do. I said, well, I teach women how to sync their cycle to their business, right? They're like, what's that?
What is that?
Because it's such a bizarre conversation. It's such a conversation that hasn't been had, but it is talking about the female body, the female hormones, the female thinking, what chemically and hormonally makes us different, but not as a difference as a bad thing, but as our superpower.
Right.
And understanding that when we are, syncing with our system, with our flow, how much more relaxed we get to be and less stress we get to have. We start to understand when during our 28-day cycle, we need our downtime, and being able to communicate that with our spouse, with our children, and saying, hey, I just need this time to just, hide under the bed, or I need to go out and hang with my girls. And everybody had like a different reaction when I talked with it. They're like, oh yeah, this is my time. I have like all boys. I've got my husband. And so when I put on my heels, they're like, oh, they're going to that event. Because they don't realize, for me, I need that female interaction.
Yeah.
I need that social interaction, because it's not in their world as men, but it definitely is in the female world. And just being able to recognize that as a woman and say, I need those connections. I need to go and be part of my community, which is even for me why I started going and teaching at the school.
Right.
I wanted to know what was going on in my community. Yeah. I realized I still don't know a whole heck of a lot about the community that I'm in. But it's the first stepping stone of just connecting and being in the environment of where we're at, right? What's important to them? What are they dealing with? And that gives me a place just to always be in a conversation around what we're doing.
Right.
So,
but I love, and I love what the internet and social media, I love the beauty of, we have the capacity to meet people all over the world, which is a beautiful thing inside Truth Bomb Academy, because we have people all over the United States. We have international people, which it brings that beauty of the world is smaller than we really think it is.
Yeah.
And being able to see how other people are getting into their communities. I love that. It's like we have a member who moved from Australia to Bali, and how she has integrated into that community in Bali.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and seeing how the different women are holding different groups in their own communities. And it's like, but at the same time, we come together as women in the world, and how it's like, yeah, we all have different cultures. We have different things. We have different ways of doing things, but how beautiful it is in each of us. And then how we bring that into our smaller communities. It's just, I just, when women get together, it's just magical. It just really is.
Yeah. I think we've said that since the beginning, since we started Truth Bomb Academy.
Yeah.
When women come together, magic truly happens. And when you talk about understanding what it is to be a female, when you talk about the hormonal, when you talk about the emotional, when you talk about the physical, the pleasure, the everything that we deal with those women, and you weave it into a business plan.
Yeah.
And you're able to help women really like build sustainable businesses, because a lot of them, every single one of them I talked to, every woman there said they've gone through burnout.
Yeah.
And they weren't all businesses. Some of them were just careers that they've been in.
Right.
And they stopped their career. They left it all together because they hit points of burnout. So it's not just happening in the world of entrepreneurship for women. It's happening to women over and over again. And they're saying this. They're like, yep, I go and burn out. I go and burn out. Holy crap. When are you going to stop the burnout?
Right.
And start syncing back to your cycle? When are you going to honor that 28-hour clock as opposed to just the 24-hour clock?
28-day clock.
28-day clock, sorry. 28-day clock.
We didn't add 4 hours to the day.
Yeah, the 28-day cycle, right? So that's why we call it the female business cycle.
Right.
Because when you start looking at how does your cycle affect you and then create your days around your cycle, you have so much more time freedom because you're not trying to cram it all in.
Right.
You start understanding how your cycle works. And it's unique to each woman. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the conversations that when we have them with women, they're like, why isn't no one talking about this? Because guys aren't going to talk to you about this.
Right.
And women, we've been told it's such a taboo topic to talk about ourselves. It's our little giggle insider conversations,
yes.
right? Like, oh my God, we're talking about the pussy. Hee. Oh, we're talking about pleasure. Hee. Like, right? And we're either that or we're offended or ashamed or we're not sure or we get uncomfortable with it. Mm-hmm. But I think acknowledging that we're uncomfortable with that conversation is the first step of saying, hey, I need to be in this conversation.
Yeah.
Right? I am a woman.
We talk about getting out of our comfort zone all the time.
Ooh.
Well, this is a step in that direction.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's like why is it uncomfortable? And I think that's where we're going back to. And it's just like making this a common conversation, not something that it's like, oh, you're just being hormonal, you're just being emotional, you're just being this. And it's like, no, if I actually have the words to tell you what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it, and ways to actually have that in a healthier manner.
Yeah.
And it's like, cause there's reasons why things we have issues with certain times of the month, and it's like, well, why do we have those issues, and what are we doing to our bodies that are causing those issues?
Yeah. There's so much interesting. And you know, when you talk about how does this tie into being a female entrepreneur, it ties in so deeply. It's crazy because we think it's all separate. We think our hormonal, our cycle, our emotions, our chemistry is different than how we do business, but it actually is interwoven into how we build our business.
Yeah.
How we manage our time, how we take care of our family, how we minimize burnout, how we take the time to rest and reset. And knowing how to plug in, and our body is telling us all this information.
Yep.
But and it's just a matter of getting back into our body as a woman, understanding and listening to our body, and then bringing that into the world. Because I promise you, we will match men for pay. We will match men for everything and what they're doing. Success.
Creating those successful
Sustainable
$1 million businesses is possible. And it's like, but we've allowed burnout to basically derail us.
Yeah. The burnout is so severe. I think there's so many women that were close to sustaining and keeping that $1 million business if they understood how to sink into their cycle.
Yeah.
They would have, I have seen women burn down businesses, drop off the face of the earth, completely shut down altogether, and then just be like, I'm never doing that again. Because the burnout, the method in which we're building is so severe. And while it feels good in the beginning, if you don't put in and understand how your body works and how your children and your family play into your emotional and your energetics, then you're doing nothing more than hindering and hurting your body. And it affects your mental health, your physical health, and it plays into everything.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be really in the world of successful business, you have to successfully understand who you are as a woman. And not just what you think you know, but actually listening to the body.
Yep. Listening
to when your right side tingles, your left side tingles, when you have an aha moment, when your body says, oh, and you've got a cough. Well, what is that cough? Like actually doing the deep dive research on yourself, on what's going on to your body. It's telling you something every single day, ladies. because our hormonal cycle is changing our body chemistry every single day. So it is responding to our environment. It's responding to the food we eat. It's responding to the exercise we're doing. It's responding to all of that. And a lot of times we've been told to push through.
Yeah.
And just keep going, and our breakthrough is on the other side. Dear God, I don't, that is probably one of the worst things we can tell each other as women. And I remember saying this a lot. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your breakdown. I think women have been broken down so much that what we really need to do is just continue to rebuild and replenish.
Yep.
And really give the ability for women to bloom. So if you guys really have enjoyed this podcast, definitely give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating. We appreciate you wherever you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform. So we are the co-owners of Truth Bomb Academy. We teach female business entrepreneurship, really providing for the first time a female business model in which to sink into so that you have the success, the lifestyle, and the balance that you really want. Everyone says it's unachievable. Really what we're discovering is that when women discover their flow, the balance is there in ways they never imagined it would be.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you don't have stress. Doesn't mean life doesn't get out of control sometimes. But you start to understand how to balance back your life by listening to your body first. And that's the key to successful business for women.
Love it.
So with that, we hope to see you guys on our next episode where we continue talking about what it is to be a female entrepreneur in the world today and challenging a lot of beliefs and having conversations that are uncomfortable that need to be made more comfortable.
Yep.
So to learn more about Truth Bomb Marketing or Truth Bomb Academy and what we teach, head over to truthbombmarketing.com. Connect with us, ask questions, and we'll hope to see you on the next episode.